doing today, my friends? Thought I'd talk a little bit. I have quite a diverse background, having lived 3 different type of lifestyles, anywhere from a rural country setting in South Georgia, Appalachian area, around Aiken, South Carolina for a couple of years, and then lived in Florida until I graduated from high school, where upon leaving the U.S. Navy, I wound up in Georgia, and I've lived the rest of my life right here in middle Georgia. Having retired from the railroad after 34 years, I was really old enough to retire because I was only 56 or something like that at the time. But I got hurt. The railroad told me they didn't need me anymore and I had to take a medical retirement. But I got 34 years with the railroad. A lot of my viewers watch my vlogs. I started doing vlogs, particularly here just a couple of years ago, but I've been with YouTube a long time, back in 2005 or something like that. Now, YouTube, a video sharing channel, was created by a couple of PayPal employees. They wound up selling the whole establishment to Google for like $1 billion. And Google, in their ever smart ways, made me one of their partners, simply because I make a few videos for them. A lot of people get to be partners with YouTube. And, a Google partner, actually, you should say. But YouTube is like a subsidiary of Google. But I'm getting off my subject here. I was doing some video streaming this morning. I watched a 3-part series of a vlog from the Stony Creek Farm vlog. And this 3-part series, they showed the whole process of processing a hog from on the hoof to in the refrigerator in your tummy. It's not gross. I mean, they took out all the gory parts, but it brought back to my memory some of my memories when we lived up around Aiken, South Carolina. But during our short period of 2 or 3 years there that we lived in Aiken, South Carolina, I did accumulate some memories, one of which was slaughtering a hog. Now, I didn't get to participate in all the activities. I got to participate in the more gory parts, the parts where you actually kill the hog. I had to watch that. When the hog got dipped in boiling water, which our way of doing it was more primitive than what you'll see if you watch the Stony Ridge Farm videos. We just had a fire out there with one of them old wash pots, boiling water to dunk them in and scrape the hair off of them. Me and my brother, we got that beautiful chore of scraping the hair off the hog. And then when it got time to butcher the hog and cut it open, we got the glorious task of toting off his intestines in a wash tub to the woods somewhere. We didn't actually participate in the activities of butchering the meat. I couldn't butcher one end of a hog from another one. And if you watch this video series with the Stony Creek farmer, you'll find it quite interesting on how they process meat and different kinds of pork. And I enjoyed watching the whole thing, so I'll put a link down in the bottom if you want to go over and watch his series. Learn the difference in bacon and Midland meat. I've always heard that term, Midland, but I never paid no attention in the difference in fatback, where each part comes from in the hog. Shows how they process it with salt and hang it in the smokehouse. I learned quite a bit just watching their little program today. But living in different areas, you know, I'm more of a city fella when we lived in Florida, but even that was rural compared to living in a big city. But I've always lived off the land, really. It's not uncommon. It wasn't uncommon when I was a kid to go rabbit hunting. I know at Aikens I had to check the rabbit traps every day. And we kept the rabbits. There's the rain starting. Kept them alive in a pen out back until we were ready to butcher them. We caught them live in rabbit traps, and one of my chores was to walk the trap line every day and collect them. Just got to be careful when you drag him out of that box. You ain't dragging out a skunk or some other kind of varmint. You don't want to bring them home. We raised our own chickens on the farm. Another glorious task is to wring a chicken's neck and watch him flop around, but they don't feel it. People think meat comes from just something that magically comes from the store. It don't come from what was an alive animal. It's now a dead animal. But 99% of us are meat eaters, carnivores. There's something to think about. I mean, you see all these liberal-minded people. Oh, how can you do that? I could never butcher a hog or clean a fish or kill a chicken. But they'll go right down to McDonald's and order a chicken snacks, or what do you call them, little bites? Go get them some fried chicken or a hamburger. It's all live animal meat that was once a live animal. It's all part of life. So, I don't know, I got to think about that, but we lived off the land, and it's not uncommon. It wasn't uncommon for me to go fishing and bring home fish. Some parts of the country, they go out and collect mushrooms. I never learned that art. We wasn't high class enough to be eating no mushrooms. I guess if we did, I don't remember them. A little bit about hog slaughtering. When the kids were young, we went and got 2 pigs and raised them here at our place. Did you see my barn out by the back of the property? I used the barn back then, had pens back there for the hogs. We grew them 2 hogs. Oh, they got up 400 or 500 pounds. They got really big. It costs money to raise a hog. It ain't free. You gotta buy feed for them. Come time to butcher the hogs, well, we didn't do that part. We carried them to a slaughterhouse and had them slaughtered. A lot of work. It'd take like 5 or 6 days to do it the old-fashioned way. And then we carried it to a guided butcher, I guess you would call him. And I'm almost positive we got cheated out of half of our pork. You gotta trust somebody else to do your butchering. They're gonna take your finest cuts of meat and you won't even know it. So, we raised a couple of cows here. We had 1 cow slaughtered, put in the freezer. We had beef for 1.5 years, I know. And we got shortchanged on that too. You can't depend on these butchers to do you right. I think they gave us some old beef off of one of theirs. It wasn't corn fed like ours was. Ours were really fat. So you just look forward to getting cheated if you're depending on some butcher shop to do your meat processing for you. There might be some honest ones around, but I've never ran into one of them. We did have some chickens here in Griffin, out behind the green building where you saw me toting that rock in yesterday is where my chicken pen was. I had a lot of trouble keeping my chickens alive because varmints would drag them off at night, possums or whatever comes, foxes come to haul them away. I had more trouble with snakes when they were out there. We had eggs for a couple of years. We had eggs coming out of our ears. We raised a couple of turkeys one year from a little chick. Grew them booger bears up to full-grown, beautiful tom turkeys walking around out there in the yard. And we were just too attached to them to slaughter them. They were like pets. So I sold them for $10 or $15 a piece to one of the local farmers. And they had them for a pet walking around their farm for several years. But it was more trouble than it was worth to take care of the animals simply because I was still working for the railroad. And if you're a farmer, you got the time to go out there and tend to your livestock every day. When I had my cows, I had my whole front and backyard fenced in with electric fence, and the cows pretty well kept my grass cut. More than once I had to come home from work because my wife would call me and tell me the cows are out. I've had to go as far as 2 miles up the road to get my cows and drive them back home. Being a farmer is a lot of work, both when you live off the land like that, and it's something that just doesn't, you very seldom see anymore. I guess everything is cityfied now. There might be a few people still living off the land, but not many. It's become a lost art. I'm sure many of my viewers have memories from the Appalachian area or a lifestyle. Well, not necessarily the Appalachian area. Up north, they did the same thing. Had a lot of dairy farms up north. Working a farm is really hard work when it comes to gathering and hay up for your livestock. When I first got out of the Navy, I had a couple of horses. I kept those horses for a couple, 3 years, and sold them. You just can't work a job full time and take care of livestock. It's not fair to the animals or to you. A lot of more elite families have horses, but they just keep them in a stable somewhere and go out there and get on them once in a while and ride around. They don't know the process of having to go out there and feed your horse and check their water trough and check the fence lines and brush them down real good every day. Tend to them. There's several things you have to do. You have to call the guy to come put horseshoes on them. I could spend all day naming things that had to be done on the farm, but I'm back at the house now. We're going to end my vlog for today. Be sure and check out the Stony Creek Farmer vlog. I'm going to put a link down in the description. And until next time, this is Pwalpar. Going to get in the house before this rain starts.